Hey, what's up, musers? This is John at Muse for You, here to help you build awesome websites without code. And in this video tutorial, I'm going to go over the 180 degrees text reveal hoverbox widget found at museforyoushop.com. Now with this widget, you can add a unique hover effect over your images and reveal text as the image flips. So as an example, I have a few examples here. So here I'll hover over and we can see it flips, and then we have text. And we also have a read more button here that you can style and link to an internal page, external page, or anchor point on your Adobe Muse website. This link button is optional, so if you just wanted text, you could just have text on the back panel here as it flips there. So I have a few examples here. Here we have a second example with a dark blue background and the text, and then the read more button. So you can change the color of the read more button as well, or the link button, so that when you hover, the text and the background color change color. And you can also change the width of the border here for the link button. And you can align the text to the left, center, or right of the hover box here. So here's another example with different color text and read more button. Here's an example without the read more button. Here's another example, and you can change the text size for the heading and the paragraph text here. Here's another example with a read more button, and this example here without a read more button. So in this video tutorial, I'm going to show where to access this widget and how to use it. So to access this widget, you simply go to museforyoushop.com, and here you can click on the pop-up, and here you can click subscribe to get access to all widgets and any new widgets I come out with for $39 a year. Or if you'd like to subscribe with PayPal, you can click here and subscribe with PayPal. The 180 degrees text reveal hoverbox is right here. So here you can click on the widget, and here you can click add to cart to purchase individually, or again, you can get access to all widgets and any new widgets I come out with for $39 a year. Here are the features included, a few of the widget options. We have the community page here, so if you had any questions, you could leave it in the community section here, and the preview page that I just went over. So there we have it, the 180 degrees text reveal hoverbox widget. All right, looks good. So we'll get started. I'll just go into Adobe Muse. I have a blank site here, and if you wanted to create a blank site, you could just go to File, New Site. And before I get started with the widget, I want to find a few images to add to the hoverbox. So I'm actually going to go to Unsplash.com. And this is a great resource for free, do whatever you want, high resolution photos. So I'm just going to click here, and I'm going to go to new. I like checking out the new section. They usually have some really nice images here, and that I get to browse through. So I found two images here that I like. This one of the coffee or the latte with the croissant, and this one with the coffee. So I'm going to click the download button here, and I'll click it here as well. So it downloads to my downloads folder, and I have a folder that I've created here called images. So I'll double click, and then I'll just place those images in there. Okay, so there I have those images, and I'll just zoom in. If I show it in list view, it shows us the size of the image. We can see those images are really large, 3 and 3.9. What I want to actually do now is resize and compress the images so they're really light for my website. So I'll just close this here, and let me go back into the Finder here. So if I double click on the image, we can see it's really large. And if I go to Tools, Adjust Size, these images are 4,476 by 2,986. And that's super large. So the largest I want to make these images for the widget is probably 500 by 500 in width and height, 500 pixels by 500 pixels. So now I'm going to go ahead and bring in the widget just to show an example. So I'm going to go to my library panel, and I'm going to type in 180, and here we have the 180 degrees text reveal hoverbox widget. So I'll click, hold, and drag and place onto my Adobe Muse website. If you don't see the library panel, you can go to Window and click on Library. So here I'll close the library panel, and here we have the widget options. So we have the instance number. If you had multiple instances, like in that preview page that I showed, you would want to give each widget a new instance number so that I could have unique styling and things like that. So here we have the image. We can give it a minimum width and a maximum width because the image is responsive within Adobe Muse. So when you resize the browser, if you don't want the image to get smaller than a certain width or a certain size, you could set the width here, and the same if someone stretched out the browser, how large you want the image to get in width. And because the width and the height are proportioned and constrained, the height will change as well. So there we have the widget options, and then we have the effect, the text, and the link button. So I'll go ahead and add an image. So I'm going to go ahead and click on add file, and here I have the two images. Now I haven't compressed or resized these images, but just as an example, I'll place in an image. And what's great about this widget is that I can just resize the width, and the widget container will resize as well. So with this image, it's not a perfect square. It actually has its own dimensions. So when you place a widget, let's say an image is 500 by 700 pixels, no matter how big or small you make the widget container, that image will retain its dimensions. So it'll stay constrained at the 500 and 700 kind of proportion there. But there is a way to get it in a perfect proportion or perfect dimension that you would like for your website. So let's say I wanted a square for the image. So what I would do here is I would go, and I'll preview this actually just to see how it looks. Now we haven't done any styling yet, but I can already use the hover box. We can see this is the default text it comes with, but as I hover, we have the text there and we have the image. But I want to compress the image and kind of change the proportions. I want it to be a perfect square. So to do that, I'm going to go to a nifty website called berm.net. This allows me to crop the images, and you can use any cropping program that you'd like. I just find this one nice and easy to use. So for this image, I know I'm not going to make it larger than 500 by 500 pixels, width and height. So I'm just going to say 500 by 500 for the width and height. The quality, I'm going to say 100%, and then I'll drag and drop the files in here. So I'll drag and drop these two. So I'll click, hold, and drag, and place in there. So now I have these two perfect square images. It's cropped it and it looks good. You can also change the crop align and the crop align X on the X axis and the crop align on the Y axis if you wanted to move that image around within the cropping here. So now I have those two images, so I'll just click on save.zip and it'll download the zip file. So I'll place it right in here in the images folder. Okay, so there we have the zip file. So I'll just double click, and we have the two files that are perfect squares right in here. Now the size is pretty good, 326 kilobytes by 430 kilobytes. If I wanted to, I could make this smaller. As we can see, they're pretty small here. Looks good and looks good. This one actually looks a bit skewed, so I'm not too crazy about it, but we'll go and use this one here. It looks nice. So I want to compress them even a bit more, just to kind of make it load really nice and fast. I mean, these are really small, so I could use them, but let's compress them a bit more. So what I did is I went to compressjpeg.com, and then I'll click, hold, and drag and place those files in there, and it'll compress them. So this compressed it by 84% and this by 82%. So we'll take a look, and I'll place that compressed file in the images folder here. Okay, so there we have the compressed JPEG zip file. So I'll double click and I'll go into that folder. 53 kilobytes and 76 kilobytes. That's really small, so that looks good, and the quality of the image still looks good, so I'm happy with that. And I'll go ahead and start using those images. So here in the hoverbox widget, I'll just go into the widget options and select an image. I'll click here, and we'll go into the compress JPEG folder, and we'll use this image here. So now I have a perfect square for my image and the widget container here. So no matter how small or large I make the widget container, this image will retain the perfect square proportions, and it'll stay the same width and height. And I can bring up the widget container just like that, and we have a nice square image. So let me preview that in the browser, and perfect. Looks good. All right, so now we have our image, and I'll go ahead and style it a little bit. So I'll click into the widget options. Here for the alternative text, I could let the search engines know what the image is about. So I could say image of a coffee cup in fall. Okay, and for the link, I don't have a link at the moment, but I could. I'll say museforyoushop.com. And then I do want to enable the link button, so that read more button, I do want it to be there. So just as an example, we'll look at it in the browser. So when I hover, we have this read more button here. If I were to uncheck this enable link button and preview again, the read more button is not there. Okay, so let's go into the widget. So I do want that read more button. The background color, we'll leave it this dark blue. The hover opacity, if I wanted it to kind of rotate a bit quicker, I could set this to faster. So I'll set it to 0.4 instead of 0.6. It is in seconds, so 0.4 seconds is like 400 milliseconds. If I were to put 1, it would be 1 second. I want the text to be aligned in the center. And actually for the background color, I'm going to go ahead and say white so it blends into the background. Okay, so now we're going to go into the text. So the text color, I'm actually going to bring in some colors from my CC libraries, and we'll drag this down, and I'll select these colors here, right click, add to swatches, and now I have access to those colors in my swatches panel. So for the text, I'm going to say this dark blue. The heading text we'll leave at Muse for You. The heading font size, I want it to be a bit bigger. So the font size is in EM or EMs, and 1 EM is equal to 16 pixels. So 1.2 would be about 18 pixels, or around 18, 19. So here I'll say 1.5 to make it a little bit bigger. The heading font weight is at 800. So 400 is normal, and anything less than 400 is thinner, and anything greater than 400 is bolder. So 800 is pretty bold. 900 is the boldest you can get here. So we have it at 800. The letter spacing or the tracking is kind of the distance between the letters. So 1 pixels, I can change this to 2 to give a little more distance in between each letter. So the paragraph text, I have awesome websites plus no code. We can leave that like that. And then for the font size, I'll make it a little bit bigger. I'll say 1.2, and the paragraph font weight is at 500, so it's a little bit bolder than normal. And the letter spacing, I'll say 2 pixels as well. So you have a lot of control over how the text will look within the hover box. And then for the line height, we can change the leading, the line height and the leading. So that's the distance between the lines of text within the hover box. So 1.5 I think is good, and we can adjust this if it looks a little bit too close there for the line height. The link button, we'll go into the link button. So here the link button text is read more. I could say something, if I wanted to link to a product, I could say buy now. The text color, we'll make it, we'll leave it white, and then we can change the font size. Here I'll make it 1.2. The font weight is 400. The letter spacing is 1. We'll make it 2. Border color is white, so we want to change it to dark blue because the background color is white. The border width, we'll make it 5 pixels, so we'll make it a little bit thicker. The hover background color, we'll say white, and the hover text color will say dark blue. So that's basically it. And then right here I have linking more info. So in case you wanted to know how to link to an internal page or an external page or an anchor point, that information is here. So for the page name, you can have it all lowercase, and for spaces, replace the spaces with a dash, and then the dot backslash to link to an internal page. So there I've styled the widget. So let's see how that looks. So I'll go to File, Preview Page, and Browser. I'll hover, and looks nice. Perfect. So, and when I hover, let me see that again. So the text, we actually want it to be dark blue in the beginning. So the text color is dark blue as well. So let's preview that in the browser, and perfect. Then when I hover over, actually nothing changes. So here, what I want to do, I think I have to reverse these. The hover background color, I want it to be dark blue, and the hover text color, I want it to be white. So that when I hover, those colors are inverted, just like that. Perfect. So when I click, it takes me to museforyoushop.com because that was the link that I linked it to. And I can open the link in a new page by going into the widget and clicking on open link in new page. That way the tab stays there, and it just opens up in a new tab here. And I can go back to the site just like this in this tab. And if you did want to link this to a PayPal button, you just have to create a PayPal button in PayPal and use the email link in the link section of the widget. And I do go over that in the virtual art gallery video and in another video, I believe, as well. So there is the 180 degrees hoverbox widget. Okay, looks good. So I'll go back into Adobe Muse. We've gone over the widget options. So let's say I wanted to create a new hover box with different styling. So I'll just copy and paste this first one, and then I'll change the instance number, and I'll go into the background color. I'll change the background color to dark blue. The text, I'll make it white, and the link button, the text color, I'll say white. The border color, I'll say white. The text background color, I'll say white, and the hover text color, I'll say dark blue. Okay, and let's see how this looks. Just like that, we have this nice hover button. Okay, so we notice the text is kind of, I believe it's the Arial text. To change the text for the hover boxes, you just click on the widget, go into the text options in Adobe Muse in the upper toolbar, click on text, and then from the drop down here, you can select any web font from this list, and you can add new web fonts and choose from those web fonts as well. So here I'll select Lato, and for this one as well, go to text and say Lato. I could also highlight them both at the same time and change the text for both of them at the same time by going to text and selecting Lato. All right, looks good. So let's see that, preview page in browser. And there we have the Lato font. And I'll bring in the font smoother for some really nice fonts there. All right, perfect. So we have the text there, we have the heading text, the paragraph text, and the link button here. If I didn't want the link button, I'll just click on enable link, or yeah, uncheck enable link button. And there I have the text, and this one does have a link here. And the other thing, if I were to resize the browser, we can see that those images are fully responsive. So the width and height change with the browser width. If I wanted to, here I'll center this in the center. So here I'll just add some breakpoints, and we're gonna see the images get smaller. So I can resize the images on each breakpoint, just like this. And there we have those there. They're a bit smaller. And I could do something like this. So what's gonna happen is that the text might get smushed. So on each breakpoint, I just wanna make sure that these hover boxes are large enough to fit the text. So here I'll resize. There we have those. Still looks good. And I'll resize one more time and looks good. So I didn't have to resize these hover boxes too much on these breakpoints because the text fits nicely on those hover boxes here. So just as an example, let's say on the 480 breakpoint, I had like really small hover boxes. And actually, I'd have to change the minimum width here. So if I said 200 for the minimum width, and I resized it, there it goes, it gets a little bit smaller. The text might be a bit crammed within this hover box. So let's see, preview in the browser. And as we can see, it goes outside of the hover box. So you just want to be aware of that when working with the widget, that the text fits in the hover box. So 230 seems to be a good size, excuse me, for the text in that hover box. Or you can make the text smaller within the text options here and kind of format it so it fits in the hover box. All right, and there's plenty of space here on the 480 breakpoint. Even if I did a 320 breakpoint, I could make the images 300 pixels wide or 280, and it would fit nicely on the 320 breakpoint, which is like for iPhone 5S. All right, so I resize, and there we go. So 480, yeah, I can make these bigger here as well. Make them about 300. Looks good. And then 600, yeah, you can leave that like that, and 960. So there you can format it across different breakpoints, and it looks good on all breakpoints. Perfect. All right, looks good. So that's it for this video tutorial. Again, to get access to the 180 degrees text reveal hoverbox widget, you simply go to museforyoushop.com. and here you can click on the pop-up, and here you can click subscribe to get access to all widgets and any new widgets I come out with for $39 a year. Or if you'd like to subscribe with PayPal, you can click here and subscribe with PayPal. The 180 degrees text reveal hover box is right here, and here you can click add to cart to purchase individually, or here you can get access to all widgets and any new widgets I come out with for $39 a year. Here are the features included, a few of the widget options, the community section on the widget page if you had any questions about the widget, and the preview page I went over in the beginning. So there we go, the 180 degrees text reveal hoverbox widget. All right, I'll go back to shop. Looks good. So that's it for this video tutorial. Again, I do this to help you build awesome websites without code. If you like this video tutorial, you can subscribe below. Also in the show more section below are links to other resources and links to museforyoushop.com. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video tutorial. Thank you.